Your history is gone. It was taken from you, or you from it. You were thralls. Now your master lies dead at the bottom of a raiding vessel, equipped for adventure. You are free. Thus reads the opening text to the rules of the game Wolves Upon the Coast, designed by Luke Gearing. Rules of Wolves Upon the Coast are available for free, and I'll provide the link below. But really, today's review is about Luke Gearing's second portion, which is the Wolves Upon the Coast Grand Campaign. Massive, ambitious hex crawl, a pseudo-historical medieval European fantasy setting. The game is designed in the OSR or NSR style of play, the definitions of which can change or vary depending on who you ask. I consider this style of play to really mean a couple things. One, that the game is rules light, characters can be created very quickly so that as characters die, a player can quickly draw up another character even during the session and jump right back into the action. This is important because of the second element that I associate with this style of play, which is that these games are highly lethal. Combats are not designed to be fair or balanced. The threats and monsters that face the characters and the players are often much greater than the power that they possess themselves. So they really need to get creative as far as how to deal with these threats. The last element that I associate with this style of play is that often adventures and quests are player driven. There's not really a plot set forward in these types of games, but really a series of situations that the players deal with in the order that they deem fit. The bottom line as far as my review for this video goes is that I think that for experienced DMs, Wolves Upon the Coast is maybe the most actionable tabletop RPG that you can run. It's full of content and full of value in terms of things that you can prepare before your session and improvise during the game. It's lean game design combined with the provocative descriptions that Luke writes into each hex of content within this campaign. The breadth and scope of this hex crawl is absolutely staggering. The group and I played over 2 months, which meant it was 8 sessions, 3 hours each, once a week. And over the course of that campaign, we got through a dungeon crawl to some old forgotten Brythonic king that was defended by his undead servants. We had a brief dalliance with a political intrigue as they took refuge at a keep on the borderlands between 2 warring French-styled nations. And we had to deal with a full-blown invasion of sea hags called Rusalka in our game that were laying siege to this small isle of villagers that had all holed up and were preparing for their last stand. That happened over 8 sessions, which in a lot of other games would take much longer. There are a couple things that may be a bit of a deterrent for some folks that I wanted to kind of point out in the video. The first of these is the non-traditional pricing. If you want to play the actual grand campaign, the hex crawl that I'm talking about, that's not free. That's $50 available on Luke's itch page. Pricing may be a bit steep for folks given the fact that there is no physical product associated with the game. It's purely digital, and you receive several PDFs from which to run the hex crawl. For me, at that price point, the game more than paid for itself. We received more than our value over the 8 weeks, especially considering that we only scratched the surface of the hexes that are available in this campaign. You could play this for years and never run out of content. Second potential deterrent is that it's not necessarily beginner friendly for DMs. Like I said at the start of the video, I really think that this campaign really shines if you are an experienced DM who knows how to take what's on the text or on the hexes before you and kind of flesh that out into a full-blown adventure. Personally, I found this to be a strength because I wasn't having to wade through a bunch of text explaining how to run the game or what a tabletop RPG was. I could just jump straight into the content I needed, prep for 15-20 minutes before my session, and be ready to go. Going back to a couple things I really liked about the game here was that pseudo-historic setting. That really grounded the game in a really interesting way because at the start of our campaign, I remember one of my players even asking, is this even a fantasy setting or is there even magic happening here? Which he would quickly find to be the case when they delved through that ancient Brythonic king's tomb and came upon some really deadly undead servants there. I think that ended up creating a higher impact, grounding it in such a kind of medieval world that when the magic kind of started to bubble up and threaten the players, it was a lot scarier, a lot more impactful in that way. I also really like the language rules in this game. Not everyone is going to know every language, and that really created and facilitated some really interesting role-play moments. For example, as my players were kind of sailing at sea, I came upon a stranded vessel with a crew that was dying of disease. None of them spoke each other's languages, and so it led to a really tense conversation that could have erupted into full-blown violence, but it didn't. Because of the fact that it didn't, players ended up healing and nursing those NPCs back to health, and those NPCs ended up joining my player's crew, which they really loved. To recap, Wolves Upon the Coast, the grand campaign setting, I think is more than worth the value afforded given the amount of content available in the game. Each hex is written with such detail and with such care, also very minimalistic in its design. I think it really just wants to get you running the game tonight. In conclusion, Wolves Upon the Coast is a fantastic game to run for experienced DMs looking to run something quickly and looking to run a game that values their time. Regularly feel as a DM like you have the tools available either in the rules or in the setting to run a very rich session either during your prep time or improvising there at the table. That's it, folks. Just a quick review of this game that me and my friends really enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll leave some links down below to how you can access this game if you're interested. Thanks.